good.
How far do you want to go?
Right there, it's good, yeah. What's going on, y'all? It's Nick with Bear Family Farms. Today we're out here checking on some of the nannies in one of the breeding groups. As you can see, fall is in full swing. Leaves are falling, acorns are falling. These girls are looking good. Probably about half of them are here. I don't know where the other half are. But today I wanted to talk about these rocks here. So a lot of people ask us, you know, do you have to trim feet? Do you have to trim hooves? Do you have a problem with hooves? Hoof problems. And whenever we have goats out in the pasture like this, we really do not have those problems because their hooves are constantly rubbing on these rocks. They're running up and down these hills, and those feet are saying trimmed. Since we moved here back in 2020, I think we've had maybe one hoof problem, and that was we believe that one was genetic. We did not raise that goat, and she's no longer here. But other than that, we have not had any hoof problems as long as we keep them out in the pasture like this. These goats are looking good. They've been eating these fallen leaves, these leftover briars in this pasture, and a lot of acorns. And every now and then we'll come in here and we'll throw a square bale in here for them, or some different kind of hay to keep that rumen balanced, because you do not want them eating straight acorns. Those acorns have an acid in them called tannic acid, and it can make the goat sick. It can kill your goats. So it is important that you are able to keep those goats' rumen balanced. And at times like this, where all the forage is pretty much eaten down and we did not have a good spring or summer, growing season wasn't the greatest, so their main protein source right now is those acorns and a little bit of those crunchy fallen leaves, which they don't eat much of. So it's important to keep some hay in here every now and then, and or alfalfa pellets, just something to keep that rumen at a balance with all the acorns that they're eating. This pasture is pretty much uphill from here, so these goats are getting a lot of exercise. I think there's about 75 to 80 head in here. As you can see, this is not all of them, but we've got Maui in here somewhere, our big Billy. I do not see how. There he is. Let's see if we can get him in here. We came out here, and just to get them, most of them called up, we threw some alfalfa pellets on the ground. So that's what they're scavenging for right now, or else they would not be this close to me. But everybody's looking good. It's December, I think yesterday was December 1st, so today's December 2nd. These goats will be in here probably about another, or the Billies will be in about another 2 weeks, 14 days or so. And then we will move all the nannies back together, all 200 or so nannies back in the same pasture and into what some would call the killing pasture. But so let's take a quick second to talk about, well, what if you don't have rocks in your pasture like this that can help keep hooves down, their hooves trimmed down for them? The thing you can do is go out and pick some up somewhere, make a little rock patch, or go get you some boulders. Goats love to be up high, so they'll get on those boulders, they'll take turns, they'll jump on and off of them, and over time those hooves will start trimming themselves down. I don't know, let's see if we can get a video of some of these hooves so you guys can see what they look like. I'm on the GoPro today, so I can't really zoom in, but hopefully one of these come out good with seeing what their hooves look like. But as you can see, they're very trimmed out naturally. So get you some rocks, get you some boulders. If you got smaller areas, you know, where you keep your goats up by the house or something, and get you some rocks out there and they can jump on and off those rocks and keep their hooves trimmed down. Another question we get asked is, how many nannies do you put per billy? And that is a very broad question. A lot of things are going to come into play with that question. One of the things being, how big is the pasture that they're in? So this particular pasture, I think it's about 20-25 acres or so, and we have it's very, I don't know, primarily wooded, but there's a lot of forage opportunity in here. But we have one billy, and we started out with about 50 nannies in this area with Maui, and then we brought in mainly to meet our pasture needs. We ended up bringing one of the other breeding groups that we had another billy covering, a younger billy. He had 25 nannies to one billy, but we brought those nannies over here because we determined that they were pretty much covered and we needed that pasture for other purposes. So in reality, right now there's about 75 nannies in here, and then there's one billy in here. Actually there's two. There's a younger billy, but we're pretty certain that everybody was covered before we moved them all and we joined them all. But that's why we keep close track of when they go in, who all went in, and when they start kidding. We document all that. Ear tags, dates, all go into files, and as soon as kids start hitting the ground based off those nannies' ear tags, we can tell who bred them and whatnot. So to answer that, to get back to my original thing I was talking about, it determines on pasture size, and it also determines on the age of the billy. So this billy Maui, which is somewhere over here, I just saw him, he is coming on 4 years old. Oh, there he is. He's coming on 4 years old. He's a very, very, very athletic. He's got a very high drive to breed, or libido, and he really didn't lose much body condition in this pasture covering all these nannies. And that's why age comes into play, because if they're in a bigger pasture, 100 acres, 200 acres, you want to make sure that you want to have a tight kidding window, as well as you want to make sure everybody is covered. So if you've got a 1,000-acre pasture and you've got 200 goats, you might want to put, you know, 5-10 billies in there to ensure that they all get covered. Or you can split them up like we do. You can split them up into smaller groups, you know, 15, 25, 50 head at a time, and just put one billy over them in a good sized pasture. We're limited here due to fencing, so everything we do here is all electric fence, electric netting. So we're not able to put them in the bigger pastures that we have available, you know, 100 acres and stuff like that, 50 acres. You know, the biggest pasture we've done is, obviously, we've talked about it before, is a 40-acre pasture, which is where all the nannies are going to go into here in about 2 weeks. So one thing is pasture size. The second thing we like to point out is the age of the billy. And then also you want to think about forage availability. Those are the big three things we think about. There's no specific number on how many nannies we put to a billy. Those three things come into a big factor. There's other small ones that we think about, but those are the big three. And here we have my wife, the goat whisperer.
Only the ones that want to eat from my hand are the ones that known me their whole lives. Tasty.
Another important thing we like to stress is coming out and just spending time with these goats. The first time that you bring them up and you put hands on them to work them, to give them vaccinations, to pull their kids off, that you don't want that to be the only time they see you. You want them to see you in low stress environments like this, out in their pasture, in their element. That way when they see your face, you know, these goats aren't dumb. People think goats are dumb. They're actually very smart. So you want them to see you in non-stressful environments like this. So at times you do put your hands on them, you're not putting them very, very high stress. They're still going to be stressed. They still might act a little wild, but they won't act as wild. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Everything that you see, mainly black tags that are in their left ear, and the white tags that are in their left ear, and maybe even some of the orange tags. A lot of those goats were all born here, so they've known us their whole lives. They're not very skittish, but all the other ones we've pulled off big ranches, and they're very skittish. And over time, and there's going to be some that you can't fix. There's going to be some that are just wild and they're never going to settle down. And depending on your management style, maybe you like those kind of goats. We don't like those kind of goats. We move these goats too much. We move them, you know, from pasture to pasture with electric fence. We don't want them learning that they can jump over electric fence. We don't want them going through electric fence. We don't want them acting wild and hurting themselves and stuff like that. We want them calm, low stressed. We don't want them as pets. They do their job. They do jobs. They clear land for us. They you know, they go to the market and they produce and they do all these things. So they're not pet animals, but we do like them to be more on the gentle side, in case one of them gets out, one of them gets sick or something like that. And by no means are they pets, despite of what you see there. Another quick thing that I want to mention that we like to look at this time of year, we like to look at their coats. We like to see who's getting that winter coat, who's got some cashmere on them. You know, we're also looking at, you know, it's been pretty cold here in Texas. We're also looking at, are there goats that look very, very thin? Reason being, they didn't grow that good coat and they've been shivering a lot. And when you shiver, you lose weight. And as you can see, there's not any goats like that here. And you know, when you do see goats like that, you want to cull them out. You don't want to pull them up by the house. You don't want to baby them, because you pull them up by the house, you baby them, and they make a kid, and they make a weak kid, and then you just continue on that cycle forever and ever and ever. You want to just send them off, get rid of them. But we don't have any goats like that this year. Pretty proud of that. We've done our due diligence in culling, and everybody's looking really, really, really good.